Alright friends, I just wanted to do my mid-August reading wrap up because I did just get back from Scotland and it's probably gonna be a few days off, but I'm just doing the books that I read when I was home and like the first half of the trip, and then the second half of the trip will be the rest of the month. I hope to read a lot in the second half of the month because I am home. It was definitely a really fun trip. You will see a reading vlog where I kind of vlog my experience a little bit. That will be coming Thursday's video, I think. I might swap them, we'll see, but I think this video is gonna go up first. But yeah, let's get into the wrap up and I will try to remember all the books that I read. But yeah, it was a very busy first half of the month, which is always how May is, or always how August is. Alright, so I did wind up making my way through part of the murder, mystery, and crime series on Amazon. So I read, okay. Pause for a second. Let me do my wrap up. Sorry, it's been a bit since I filmed. Like, I haven't been filming because I've obviously been away. But let me do my stats because I actually do like stats. Let me do that first. Sorry, I will. I read 12 books so far in August for an average of 3,504 pages. My average page count was 113 pages a day, which I think is very typical of what I read when I'm on vacation because it was definitely like a different reading experience this trip. And then I read an average page count of 292. That's obviously with the shorter things I read, why the page count is a little bit lower. And I did read some really short audiobooks. And then my most read genre was fantasy romance. I read 1 book with a rep, 7 from authors I read before, and I hauled 6 books, not including the stuff I got from my vacation. I had 4 5-stars. Actually, I had a really good reading month. A lot of them were rereads though at this point. Like I did re-listen to a lot of things that were rereads, so that may be inflated like a little bit. I had 1 4.5 star, 4 4-star, 3 3.5 stars, and for an average rating of 4.25. I actually had a pretty good reading experience. I read 10 new releases. I read 2 backlists, 0 from last year. I read 3 physical, 7 audiobook, and 2 ebook. I started 2 series, I continued into, I read 3 standalones and 3 anthology, which was those short stories, and I read 0 companion. I read 0 middle grade, 4 young adult, and 8 adult. I read 3 arcs, 3 from Audible, 3 from KU, 1 from the library, 2 from NetGalley, and 0 owned. And I have a hard time with the arc breakdown because I'm just reading how I physically read it, and it may not work with the stats. And then I read 2 short stories, 3 fantasy romance, 2 fantasy, 2 romance, and 3 mystery. So yeah, let's get into the reads. So I read by Travis Baldry. I read Miss Gentle and the Case of the Very Flat Monk, and I gave this book 4 stars. So I'll take a photo of that book here. These stories, they're just very short, and there's not enough to like get your attention. Like you kind of like get to the end and you're like, oh, I want to know more, and it's only like a 30-page short story. But I think this is good. I read all the authors so far that I have read before, but I think it's good to kind of read new authors. I think I read 1. Yeah, I read 1 by one author that I haven't read before, just to kind of see if their style would work for me. But I did like Travis Baldry's writing style. I gave this one 4 stars, and I enjoyed it. And then I also read A Labyrinth of Honeybees by Heather Fawcett, which I also gave this book 3.75 stars. I will take a photo of that book here. I was a little bit annoyed because we got to the end and there was a big reveal and then the story just ended. So again, some of the short stories, they don't always work for me for that reason, but it was a fun time and I do want to read more by this author in the future. Her books do work for me. Sometimes they're a little bit too fast-paced for me at points because they're considered cozy. But yeah. Then the next book I read was To Drown a Witch by Lindsay Olsen. I gave this book 5 stars. I actually really like this book. Basically, you have a system where magic is kind of in the environment. The witch is feared above all else, and guards begin to drop dead. And you have the prince, and a witch and a girl and a Nessa girl, a thief, are kind of teaming up to kind of figure out what's happening. I really like this story. There was a twist at the end that I did not see coming, and I really want to see where book 2 goes. This is a very slow-paced fantasy romance with a lot of twists and turns. Very, very low spice, but I really like this. Gave me Serpent and Dove vibes, especially towards the end, and I just enjoyed it. I had a really fun time with this one. I think I'm getting a special edition of this one, but I just enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I didn't want to put it down, and it was a fun read. The end really was surprising to me. So, but yeah, this is basically about it's very, very hate to more, but I did enjoy it. And then the next book I read was The Lion's Tusk by Robert Jackson Bennett. This was another one of those short stories. So I will attach a photo of that book here. I like the least. I think I only gave this one 3 stars, and I don't know if Robert Jackson Bennett is a style for me. I remember I DNF'd one of his books like a while ago and just never went back and finished it. So I don't know. I like this. It just wasn't like a new favorite. And then I did have an actual DNF. I did wind up DNFing Body Count by Cody Crowley. I just was not enjoying this book. And it was an arc that I got. I remember I got it to get another book. Like, they were signing together and you had to buy it to get one. And I just didn't like this one. So I didn't want to DNFing it. I think I might maybe put it in my classroom. We'll see. I just didn't enjoy it that much. And then I wound up reading A Dead Thing Like Me by E.G. Young. I think this would be a perfect fall read, and I gave this book 4 stars. So basically you have a main character who is a ghost. They're called Hot Dog, and they're basically trying to figure out why are they still here. Like, what is happening? They're a ghost. They're trying to uncover their lives. And there's a couple of people in their current life that may be connected to them, to this character ghost, because they don't remember their past. And it's just her trying to uncover that. And I liked it. I don't think it's a new favorite. It was written in a very unique way. It kind of gave me like verse vibes, like written in verse vibes, but not really. There are chapters that are more written in verse, but it had interesting representation. There is a LGBTQ plus element to the story, and I did enjoy it. Great for fall. I just don't think it's a new favorite, but I did like the characters, so that's good. And then I wound up reading The Iron Hex by Victoria Eschwals, and I gave this book 5 stars. I think this would have been a pure 5-star, but I had to read it when I was on my trip. I had to buy it and like read it when I was traveling, and I really was suffering from jet lag. So I'm gonna say that I really did like this book, and I did. Definitely will have to reread it. I'm gonna see if I can get like a pretty edition when I go to Barnes & Noble, because this is just my ARC edition. I got this when I went to Barnes & Noble Fest. I really like this book. It basically follows the main character named Ira, and she's basically living in this small town. She has no memory of her past, and then one day she kind of gets kidnapped by this guy, and she's kind of told all these things. She doesn't remember her past, and they have to go on an adventure. It is a very twisty, turny story, and I just enjoyed it. It was a quick read. It was one of my favorite tropes. I don't want to give it away because I think it will give away the book, but basically this main character doesn't have a memory of her past, trying to uncover what's happening. There's a fun sidekick in here, and I just had a great time. I really want to read book 2 when it comes out. Probably reread this book, but I had a fun time with this and gave it 5 stars. So definitely one of my new fantasy romance favorites. And then I wound up on that trip right when I was leaving. I wound up finishing A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this book 4 stars. I actually had a fun time with it. And I just like her writing. Like, I really do. I think she writes very captivating fantasy romance. I think it was a good end to the series, and I am excited to keep reading and read the new stuff she's coming out with. But I do think Court of Mist and Fury is still my favorite. But I did finish it, and I'm going to go read the other 2 before they come out in October. And then I read a bunch of stuff on my Kindle. So I have You, Me, and Conspiracy by Emma Barry. I'm going to attach a photo of that book here. November, and I really like this. It was kind of like Hamilton-esque, but also like National Treasure, and you follow these 2 academics, and one academic is a guy that like was basically left out of academia, and one was a character that's working for a school. They're kind of like a little bit down on their luck, and they wind up uncovering this conspiracy connected to George Washington, and they kind of have to work together to kind of figure out what's happening. I really liked it. It was very, very quick pace. I was reading it on the bus, and I just was quickly reading it. I think I would love to listen to this as an audio when it comes out because it just was super quick, gave me like romantic suspense vibes, or The Mummy, or like when I read the books by Joe Suga. So I had a fun time with this book, gave it 4 stars, really, really liked the characters, and it was just a fun read. And then I read a book really early, but it was perfect because I was traveling and it's a travel romance. So I read The View from Here by Casey West. I gave this book 5 stars. I will touch a photo of this book here. January, but I was like, saw a cruise ship and I was like, oh my god, this is a travel romance, and I was traveling. And it's funny because the girl, like the premise of the story is like you have a main character, she is kind of like in that last year, like going into her last year of high school, or I think she might be, oh no, I'm sorry, I think she might be on like a senior trip. Maybe it's like a senior trip. It's either the summer or it's like a senior trip or something. One of those. And her grandma is a little bit more lax than her mom, and she basically has an extra ticket on this over 50s cruise, and this girl kind of gets invited to go. And you have another boy there that is also on this over 50s cruise, and it's just funny because the trip I was on, I'm like not 50 obviously, but I'm like 30. I'm turning 40 next year, and there was a 13-year-old girl on my trip with all of these adults, and it was just so funny just to like read a book that like was mirroring my life for that young girl. It was just very, very funny. But basically they go to all these ports. You have a main character that's like very, very like strict, rigid. Her mom gives her very, very strict instructions how she wants her to live her future. And then you have this guy that's like a former child star sort of, and they're kind of have a romance. It was so cute. I really, really liked it. And it was just a fun read. It was like a 5-star read. I remember the last thing I read by Casey West I didn't like as much. This one I really, really did, and I'm happy that I read it. And then the next 3 are all rereads, so I'm going to try to like talk to them pretty quickly. I read Murder at the Mansion by Ellie Alexandra, and I gave this book 4.5 stars in the series. This was a reread, but I listened to the audio. This is probably my favorite in that series because I just liked all the characters in this. Basically, your PI detectives have to investigate the disappearance of a old woman from her mansion, and that was the one that I read for there. Gave it 4.5 stars. The next book I read is The Whisking Hour by Alexandra, back in the Bake Shop mystery series. I gave this book 4 stars. This is very, very theater-y-esque. I'm a theater teacher, so it was very, very fun. So I'll attach a photo of that book here. If I don't, I'll attach 2 photos of them here. Reread I did was The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I gave this book 5 stars. Probably one of my favorite books in this whole series. Like, I just like, there's a character that you experience in here in person, like on page, that I really did like. So yeah, those are all the things that I read. Again, at the end of the summer, I'm going to do a whole entertainment recap because I've been watching a lot of things. I went to go see some movies when I was in Scotland, so we'll talk about that then. I saw a couple of movies here. But yeah, let me know in the comments what is the favorite thing you read in the first half of the month. I would love to know, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, book friends.